Are you a high-performing parent, entrepreneur, or high achiever in pursuit of excellence? Welcome to The Nexus Podcast, a podcast custom tailored for families like ours, driven, affluent, and eager to lead extraordinary lives. From rockstar stay-at-home moms to high-producing CEOs, we choose to model success for everyone we are surrounded by. We prioritize health over sickness, embrace a vitalistic lifestyle, and seek to tap into the limitless potential that God has bestowed upon us. I'm Dr. Daniel Kimbley, your host, and on this podcast, we'll uncover the secrets to living a fulfilling and abundant life, where you and your loved ones can thrive physically, mentally, and spiritually. Together, we'll forge a path to greatness and unleash your God-given capabilities. Get ready to say yes to a life of true prosperity and well-being. This is The Nexus Podcast. Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And I just got done dropping my daughter off from school, which I do every single Tuesday, non-negotiable. And doing it actually brought up this idea, and I literally have this happen every single Tuesday that I take her to school. And I'm like so grateful that I get to drive out Ortega into nature, and we drop her off at this little nature spot, and she has school that's completely outside. Like the only thing that's indoors are the bathrooms. Like there's no buildings, there are no tents. Her classroom, the roof of her classroom is trees. And the reason that I share this with you is because this thought came up last week. My coach and I were having a conversation, and he said this comment that was just so powerful to me that I couldn't help, I literally wrote it down and I couldn't help him. I have to share that on the episode of the podcast this following week. And this is what my coach said. He said, if you think you only have one choice, that's the choice you're going to make. And I share this with you, and I share my daughter's school with you, because I think that a lot of times we live in a world where we are told that there's only one way. Like there's only one way to go to school, right? And the way to go to school is you go through mainstream school where the kid sits in the classroom all day, and that's how they learn. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, a bad thing, a right thing, a wrong thing. It's just different for different families. And I grew up in this belief is like, that's how you go to school. That's what school is. And then I'm driving my daughter out today, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, this is so different than the experience I had of going to school. And the reason that this matters is because I believed up until a certain point in my life that I only had one choice to make for my daughter's schooling, that there was only one path to go to get to school. And this applies to so many places in our lives, right? Where I think that, growing up, I watched my mom where she would diet and then not diet and then diet again and then not diet. And it was like if she wasn't on a diet, she wasn't necessarily eating clean, and nothing ever stuck for long periods of time. And while she was committed and while she did a lot of diets and a lot of stuff, I realized that what I see with a lot of people is that they think there's only one choice to make, and that's the only choice that they know to make. And so for me, it was schooling, right? Until we had a different choice for Coco and the option that best suited us and our family and how we wanted her to learn and what we know about the brain and how the brain develops. And I think about this in all kinds of places, right? It's like whether it's in business, if we think we only have one choice to make, that's the decision we're going to make. In our healthcare and the way we take care of our physical bodies, if we only have one choice to make, most people, literally, this is me included because I grew up this way. My thought process about the way that I took care of my body was that when I get sick and I have symptoms, I go to the doctor. The doctor prescribes me something, medication, rest, something else. And then because of those things that the doctor gave me, the doctor healed my body, or the medicine healed my body. And then now I'm better and I can go back to being healthy again. And I thought that was the only way that we thought about the body. Except for my entire life, I also would never take Tylenol for a headache. Why? I have no idea. This is just built into me in my DNA. I literally would tell my friends in high school, I'm like, nah, I don't need to take that Tylenol for a headache. Meanwhile, I was using all kinds of drugs in high school, but to take Tylenol for a headache, I wouldn't do it. And the reason I share this with you is because I had this deep belief inside of me that the body knew how to heal itself. And then lo and behold, I get introduced to, many years later, to my chiropractor back in Indiana, Dr. Mike, and it completely changed my life because I sat in a room with people who believe that the body knows how to heal itself. And when we have symptoms, those symptoms are not necessarily the cause, right? There was something happening before that created the symptoms. And we got to get to the cause of what created the symptoms if we actually want to put out the fire in the first place. Again, this idea that the body knows how to heal itself. So the difference in contrast, right, of I go to the doctor gives me medication, the medication fixes me, or the doctor fixes me, versus my body is trying to heal itself, or what can I do to allow my body to express health at 100% so that I never have symptoms in the first place? This is a choice that I didn't even know I could make for myself until I got out of undergrad and started working on my master's in secondary English education. And I share this with you because I think it's such a powerful principle. Like, I sit down with moms who are told that their brain fog is all in their head, that their issues of digestion and their sleep issues are all in their head, and that if they just need to walk more, they need to exercise more. And like, I sit with so many families, I sit with so many parents who are told that, you'll just grow out of it, like it'll just go away on its own. And people kind of shrug it off, right? And then I see so many people who come in like they feel like they're broken. They're like, nobody listens to me. Nobody knows what's going on with me. And then I feel like I'm crazy because when I tell somebody this, like, nobody understands it. And so the conversation is simple, and the conversation goes like this, is like, there is another choice. There is another choice for sure. And the choice that you can make is to start to allow your body, your nervous system, your brain to function at 100% and watch how the stuff and the things that you struggle with in life melt away. And the reality is, like, it has to work that way. I sit down and I tell people how, like, this is the craziest concept. I sit down and I tell people inside of our office time and time and time again, the things you are experiencing are real, and the things that you are experiencing are a result of your body's stress response. Wrap your head around this with me for just a moment. The symptoms that you are experiencing inside of your life, headaches, skin issues, digestive issues, pain, brain fog, memory issues, lack of sleep, anxiety, depression, ADHD, the list could go on and on and on and on and on. The symptoms are your body's normal response to an abnormal amount of stress. Your stress hormones by default are designed to allow our bodies to function differently than they would if they were functioning optimally. And what we can identify in our office is where someone is at in terms of where their stress is stuck on in their system, and what gap is present in their body's ability to be able to function at 100%. And when their brain starts functioning at 100%, brain fog goes away, skin issues go away, digestive issues go away, anxiety goes away, medications drop, blood pressure goes down, insulin levels change, thyroid hormone levels change, like all the stuff that we see inside of our office. And I tell people time and time and time and time again, it is not because I am the best doctor. I cannot fix someone because I am not smarter than their body. Like the physiologic, your body, think of it this way. I'm getting off on a tangent. I'm so fired up on this. Think of it this way. Your body does processes 3 trillion bits of information every single second, and about 50 of them make it to your conscious mind. What this means is that, like, there's no possible way that a human could fix another human. Like, it's just not possible. The body has these gifts of healing that God gave each of us. And one of those gifts of healing that God gave each of us is actually a protective mechanism called the fight or flight state in the nervous system. And if the fight or flight state in the nervous system is stuck on, it creates symptoms. And it creates symptoms to keep you safe and protected. The symptoms are normal. And this is what I share with people, and they open up their eyes and they open up their mind. And going back to the beginning of the episode when I talk about taking my daughter to school and why it's so important to realize that there are different choices, and that there, my friends, are different choices for you. Like, you can make a different choice today on how you start to address your body. So many people show up in my office and they're like, I have this skin issue, I have this neck issue, I have this back issue, I have this shoulder thing, or my knee thing. And realizing when I share this story with them is that the brain was the cause. The brain stuck in a fight or flight state was the cause. And through a series of steps, we can get your body back into a rest and digest, back into a healing state. There's another way. There's another choice to be made. But if you don't know the choice exists, then you can't make it in the first place. I sat with a mom yesterday, and she's like, I don't know why you call yourself a chiropractor. She's like, I tell all my friends I come to a chiropractor. She takes her whole family to us. Like, the whole family's getting amazing results, by the way. And, some of them came for pain. Most of them are there now for, like, mental performance and the way that they feel like they're connected to God and the way that they experience happiness and joy on a day-to-day basis. And, like, that's so far from what chiropractic care is touted as when you look on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and wherever it is.
And the reason that this is the case is because people don't know that there's a different option. Like, there's a different option other than you having to wake up every morning and take a medication. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice to stop taking your medication. But what I know and what I've seen inside of my practice is that when people's nervous system starts to function at 100%, those things aren't necessary anymore. And it's a different way. But if you think that you only have one choice, obviously that's the choice you're going to make. So my friends, for you inside of your life, my question for you would be this, is where do you feel like there's only one choice? And where have you not considered that there are actually other opportunities? For me and my daughter's schooling, it was a huge one. And getting to drive her out into nature one day a week to take her to this beautiful school that she's at with amazing teachers and everybody's happy and nobody complains about not having recess because they have recess 24/7. And they're learning, and Coco's learning how to write, and she's learning how to read, and she's not even 5 yet, she just turned 4. And like, all of it's possible because the schooling environment that she's in is actually in line with how her brain was designed to function. It's in line with how her brain was designed to develop. And honestly, like 99% of the schooling out there is completely antithetical to the way that our brains are designed to develop and to design to function. And so my friends, maybe it's inside of your physical body, right? Like I talked about before, taking medication versus not taking medication, addressing symptoms versus addressing health. Maybe that's one place where you can start to realize that, like, oh my gosh, maybe there's a different choice. Maybe there's a different set of options. Even though I think it's crazy, or it's only what I've seen on Facebook and Instagram, maybe look in some other places to get some different data and some different science and understand how your body actually works. And maybe you can make a different decision that will actually get you the results that you're looking for inside of your life. Maybe it's in your spirituality, right? Like, I used to think in my life that there was no God, that there was no creator, that there was none of these things. And I didn't realize that until I stepped into the right church, it completely changed my life. Why? Because I felt something inside of me that I had never felt and experienced before. And I truly believe that because of the chiropractic care that I had been under and the fact that I stepped into a new environment that I was willing to step into that I hadn't experienced before, it allowed me to realize that one way is to choose that there's no creator. Another way is to choose that there is a creator and that Jesus is Savior. And this isn't a religious conversation, but inside of your being, your spirituality, right? Inside of your religion or however you connect to God or connect to Source, like, what is it for you? Maybe it's inside your relationships, right? Like, I used to think for so long that my relationship, my marriage should look exactly like my parents should, until I had my own, and then I realized that actually that wasn't a great way to do it. And there's so many things that my wife and I have changed and decided to do and not do. And like one example of this would be that most people grow up in a world where you cheer on sports teams. Like, that's what you do. You root on strangers who you don't know at all, and you cheer for them, and you drink beer, and you poison yourself, and then you never, like, people show up in their lives, but they never cheer for themselves with the same fervor. They never cheer for their families with the same fervor that they cheer for the sports team. And my wife and I started doing just one simple example of this is realizing that, oh, we have a choice to opt out of all that stuff. We don't watch sports. We rarely watch TV. And why? The reason that we do it is so we can connect with each other, so we can connect as a family more. So again, this isn't about me, but I'm just asking the question, where in your life could you potentially have another choice if you just started to realize that there are multiple different choices? And choosing to not choose is a choice in and of itself. And then lastly, so we talked about body, we talked about being, we talked about balance, and then what about inside of your business, right? What if you could make a different decision? What if you could do something? If everybody's going one way, then you just go the complete opposite way. Like, there are choices to be made, and I'm telling you that if you think that there's only one choice, it's the choice you're going to make. And what I have seen over and over and over in my life, time and time and time and time again, is that when I realize that I can choose differently and that there are multiple choices, literally everything changes. And my friends, that's why this podcast exists. That's why I do these every single week. I don't care if it reaches one person. I don't care if it reaches 10,000 people. I would hope it reaches that many people. But for right now, if this changes one person's life or gets them to think about their life differently, like, that's the choice I'm choosing to make, because I realize that the other option would be to not do this and not have a positive influence on the world in some way. So my friends, that's what I'm about. I would encourage you, where in your life are you looking at it as like, there's only one choice and it's the choice I'm making, instead of realizing that there are always possibilities across all aspects of your life. I love you. I appreciate you. If you got some value out of it, if you could leave me a rating, leave a review, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and I will come at you again next week. Peace.